My fiancée vanished. After saying I need space to decompress. Then I saw her Instagram story. She was at her ex's place. I didn't react. When she texted, I'm coming home, I sent a reply she never saw coming. All right, Reddit. My fiancée said she needed a few days to relax. Cool. I figured wedding stress is real. Then I find out she's been staying at her ex's place. What happened next? Absolute chaos. Grab your popcorn and enjoy the shit show. I'm Kai, 31 male. I was sitting in my truck during lunch break, eating a burrito and scrolling Instagram. Just another Thursday afternoon, nothing special. Then I saw something that made my stomach drop. Kelsey posted a group shot from some restaurant downtown. 8 people crammed into a booth with drinks spread across the table. And there was Miley, my fiancée, sitting next to her ex-boyfriend Bruno, the guy she dated for 3 years before me. The guy she supposedly ended things fine with and never wanted to contact because it brought back too many bad memories. She was wearing the bracelet I bought her for Christmas. The one with the 3 small diamonds that cost me a week and a half of overtime. She was mid-laugh, head tilted back, looking more relaxed than I'd seen her in months. Bruno wasn't touching her in the photo, but they were sitting close enough that his shoulder pressed against hers. Real cozy. Anyone looking would assume they were together. Kelsey's caption read, "Squad reunion hitting different. Missed these faces. Thursday vibes. Cheers, tooled friends." My hands went numb. This was day 6 of her supposed break. 6 days since she walked out saying she desperately needed alone time to decompress from work stress and wedding planning pressure. 6 days since she kissed my cheek and promised we'd text every single day to stay connected. I was being an understanding partner while she was apparently doing whatever this was with her ex. Not gonna lie, I did panic. And I called her immediately. It rang twice and went to voicemail. That sick feeling in my gut got worse. I opened my text with Kelsey. We weren't close, but we'd grabbed lunch a few times. Sent her a simple message asking where that photo was from. Her response came back in under a minute. "Oh, Kai, she didn't tell you?" "Yeah, she's been crashing at Bruno's place since Monday. Figured you knew about it." Since Monday. That was day 3. The day her texts went from paragraphs to 3-word responses. That day she said her phone was acting weird and she might not respond much. Yeah, of course. I sat there in my truck staring at those words. Then I pulled up our shared phone plan account on my work laptop. She'd been online constantly. Instagram, Facebook, Snapchat, iMessage, just not to me. Then, at 2 o'clock in the morning, after I'd called her 9 times and gotten nothing but that same voicemail, she finally texted back. "Can we talk tomorrow? I'm exhausted and going to bed." Exhausted. Right. I replied immediately saying we needed to talk right now. She left me on red for 20 minutes. Then she sent a wall of text about how she'd randomly run into Bruno at a coffee shop, how she'd been staying in his spare bedroom because it was simpler than booking an Airbnb, and how absolutely nothing had happened between them. Right. And I'm sure they discussed the weather every evening before going to their separate rooms. I didn't sleep that night. Now before we continue, let me paint the full picture. I've been with Miley for 5 years, engaged for 10 months. The relationship wasn't fireworks and poetry, but it was good. Or so I thought. You stop questioning whether you're both committed when the answer seems obvious. Turns out the answer was only obvious to one of us. 4 weeks before she asked for her break, we'd put down a deposit on a house. Nice 3-bedroom ranch in a decent neighborhood about 20 minutes from my job. Way better than our cramped apartment. I dropped $52,000 on the down payment deposit. Money I'd been grinding for since I was 23. Working 50-hour weeks at the distribution center. Skipping every vacation my buddies took. Driving the same beat-up Silverado for 9 years. I'd picked up extra shifts during holidays, when everyone else was home with family. Worked through a shoulder injury that should have had me on medical leave for 6 weeks. Turned down a fishing trip to Alaska with Matt and the guys because the $2,800 cost would set back my savings timeline. Every single dollar in that account represented something I'd sacrificed. Tax returns that could have gone toward a newer truck. Bonuses that friends spent on vacations, while I transferred them straight to savings. Miley contributed $9,500. I didn't make a big deal about the difference. We were building something together. That's what I kept telling myself. The wedding was scheduled for early July. Venue locked in, caterer paid, photographer booked, DJ secured, invitations printed and ready to mail. Her parents had kicked in about $8,000 total. I'd covered roughly $14,000 on my end. My parents threw in another $3,000. We were in deep. Everything seemed like it was finally coming together. I'd gotten bumped to shift supervisor at work with a decent raise. Miley had made senior project manager at her marketing firm. We'd started talking about getting a dog after the honeymoon, maybe trying for kids in a year or two. Standard stuff. Normal life progression. Then a month ago, she came home looking completely drained. Dropped her laptop bag by the door and stood there like someone had sucked all the energy out of her. I was heating up leftover pizza because cooking wasn't happening that night. She said we needed to talk. Never good. Her voice was flat when she explained how exhausted she was. How work had been brutal with 3 major clients demanding revisions on everything. How wedding planning had become this suffocating weight, with her mother changing her mind every other day about centerpieces and her bridesmaids fighting about dress colors. How she felt like she couldn't breathe and needed 5 or 6 days completely alone to reset her brain. Maybe grab an Airbnb somewhere quiet to disconnect and recharge. The thing is, she did look burned out. She'd been bringing work home constantly, answering emails at 11 p.m., skipping dinners. The wedding stuff had gotten intense too. Her mom kept sending 50 message group chats about napkin colors. The venue coordinator kept calling about timeline adjustments. Miley handled most of it. I figured she genuinely needed space. Turns out she needed space from wedding stress, but somehow found energy for restaurants and ex-boyfriends. When I asked if we were solid, she hugged me and said, of course, she loved me so much. She just needed this temporary break to get her head straight. She'd text every day. It wasn't about us at all. I didn't want to be that controlling guy who makes everything about himself when his partner's genuinely struggling. So I told her to take whatever time she needed. I meant it. Should have asked for more details instead. Live and learn. She left the next morning with a rolling suitcase and her laptop bag. Kissed me goodbye. Said she'd be back by the following weekend at the latest. Day 1, she texted around lunchtime about finding a little rental near the lake, already feeling more relaxed. Day 2, she sent a sunset photo over the water, said she'd gone for a long walk and felt better already. Day 3, she sent one text at 10 p.m., saying her phone was acting up and she might not be super responsive. Day 4, nothing until almost midnight. 4 words about her battery dying. Day 5, complete radio silence. Day 6, the Instagram post that blew up my entire world. The timeline reads like instructions on how to cheat and lie at the same time. I didn't respond to her exhausted text right away. I was too angry to think straight. So I waited until morning, made myself eggs and toast, took a long shower, and got my head organized. By 8 a.m., I'd made my plan. I texted her back telling her to take all the time she needed. Let me know when she was ready to talk. She replied within 90 seconds thanking me for being so understanding, saying she loved me. I left her on red. Let her think I was being the bigger person. Then I went to work. First call went to Matt, my buddy from high school, who'd gotten his real estate license 5 years back. I told him everything. The break, Bruno, the lies, the Instagram post, all of it. He listened without interrupting once. When I finished, he said 2 words. Get out. Explained that we were still inside the inspection contingency period. Most contracts in our state give you 17 days for inspections, and you can back out for pretty much any reason during that window. Full deposit refunded. We were on day 14. I started the paperwork within the hour. Contacted the seller's agent, explained I was exercising my right to terminate due to personal circumstances, and formally requested the deposit refund. The agent wasn't thrilled, but legally she couldn't do anything about it. Matt walked me through every step over the phone, made sure I documented everything, took screenshots of the seller's agreement showing the contingency clause, saved copies of every email. He'd seen enough deals fall apart over relationship drama that he knew exactly how to protect me. Best $52,000 I never spent. Then I called my bank. That $52,000 was sitting in our joint savings account, the one we'd opened 3 years ago specifically for house savings. I asked them to close my access and transfer my contribution to a new individual account immediately. The bank manager asked if I was certain. I said absolutely. The manager tried talking me through alternatives. Maybe just limiting access instead of separating everything. I shut that down fast. Told her my fiancé was cheating and I needed my money protected before she could touch it. She nodded and said she'd process it as an emergency separation and have it done within 2 hours. Money was moved by close of business. $52,000, protected and separate. She still had access to the joint account, but only her $9,500 remained. Then I changed the locks on our apartment. The lease was in my name. She'd moved in 3 years ago, but we'd never gotten around to adding her officially. Technically, she was just a long-term guest. Called my landlord, explained we were breaking up, asked if I could swap the locks. He said fine as long as he got a copy of the new key. The landlord, Ed, had been through divorce himself. When I told him what was happening, He offered to help me install the new locks. Said he kept spare deadbolts in his garage from previous tenant situations. We met up that evening, and he brought his drill and a lock set still in the package. Took us about 40 minutes to swap everything out. Then I waited. She didn't text me for 5 full days. 5 days of nothing. I went to work, came home, ate dinner, watched TV, went to bed. My routine stayed exactly the same except for the giant empty space where she used to be. Turns out that empty space was actually pretty peaceful. On the 6th day, she texted, "Hey babe, I'm ready to come home. Can we talk this evening?" "Sure," I replied. She said 6:30. That gave me the whole afternoon. I spent it packing her stuff. Packed her bathroom products, her books, her jewelry, all the random junk she'd accumulated over 3 years. 8 boxes total. Stacked them right by the front door where she couldn't miss them. She showed up at 6:47. Knocked because her key didn't work anymore. I opened the door and she saw the boxes immediately. Her face went from confused to shocked to furious in about 3 seconds. "What is happening?" she asked. "Come inside." "No." "What are these boxes?" "Your stuff." She paused. "Why would you pack my stuff? Are you freaking kidding me?" So I laid it all out. Backed out of the house, got my deposit returned, withdrew my money from our joint account, changed the locks, done. Her face went pale. "You did what?" "You heard me. Are you insane?" "But I told you nothing happened between me and Bruno. You said you needed space. You didn't mention it involved staying at Bruno's place for days. You disappeared for almost a week, stopped responding to my calls, and now you expect me to take it like a good boy? Oh my God! You are overreacting. You're being paranoid and controlling. Now I'm not allowed to have a good time with my friends." "Miley." "What?" she snapped. "Don't think for a second that I'm stupid here." She stopped talking. I stared at her dead in the eye and continued. "I've been patient and understanding, sure, but I am not stupid. So don't you dare try to spin this BS." She glared back at me. "You are making a huge mistake. The boxes are ready. You can take them now or come back tomorrow. You're not staying here anymore." She actually laughed. "You can't kick me out. I live here too. The lease is in my name, genius." "You are a guest who overstayed her welcome." The laugh died. "You know what? You are such a jerk." "A jerk it is. Now leave," I replied coldly. She grabbed 2 boxes, barely managing to carry them. As she walked out, she stumbled and fell. I managed to hold my laugh. She stood up and yelled, "Screw you!" Carried the boxes again and left without a word. I closed the door and cracked open a drink. 3 days after she took those first 2 boxes, my phone rang. Ashley, Miley's younger sister. We'd always gotten along solid. She was supposed to be a bridesmaid. She'd helped me pick Miley's engagement ring. Showed me which styles Miley liked. Her voice was tense when I answered. Said she had to tell me something and Miley would murder her for it. But I deserved the truth. My chest tightened. I told her to say whatever she needed to say. She slept with him. With Bruno. Multiple times. Started the second night she was there and kept going. Told Ashley 3 nights ago and swore her to secrecy. But Ashley couldn't watch her sister do this to me. I felt like someone had punched straight through my ribcage. I'd suspected it, obviously. But hearing confirmation felt different. She kept talking. Said there was more. Miley had been texting Bruno for over a month before this. Started after she ran into him at a coffee shop. Ashley had seen the messages on Miley's laptop when they were together last week. Long conversations. Late night talks. Miley complaining about wedding stress, and Bruno offering to be there for her. Classic setup for what came next. She gave me more details. Said Miley had been deleting texts from Bruno off her phone, but backing everything up to her laptop automatically. She hadn't realized the messages were still visible there. Ashley had been using the laptop to check her email when Miley was in the shower and saw everything. Hundreds of messages going back 5 weeks. Bruno telling Miley she deserved better. Miley saying I didn't understand her anymore. Him saying he'd always regretted letting her go. Her eating it all up. The messages got more explicit about 2 weeks in. Planning to meet up. Talking about how much they'd missed each other physically. Miley lying to me about working late when she was actually having coffee with him 3 separate times before she asked for her break. The whole thing was premeditated from the jump. I thanked her. She apologized, said Miley threw away the best thing she ever had. Then we hung up. I sat there processing everything. Part of me wanted to break something. Part of me just felt exhausted. But mostly I felt validated. I was right. That evening Miley texted asking to meet. Apologized for overreacting, that she was tired, and said she owed me a real explanation, wanted to clear everything up. I agreed to meet at the park near our old apartment. Public space. Cameras around. Witnesses. She showed up 15 minutes late looking like she'd slept in her car. Started talking immediately. Said she knew she'd hurt me but needed me to understand her perspective. Seeing Bruno had brought back feelings she thought were dead. But they weren't real feelings. Just nostalgia and stress. I was her future. The one she wanted to build a life with. We could get past this. I asked her directly if she slept with him. She hesitated. Just 1 second. But I saw it in her eyes. She said no. Swore on everything, nothing physical happened. Just talking and hanging out. I actually started laughing. Told her Ashley already filled me in on everything so she could drop the act. Her whole face changed. What did Ashley tell you? Her voice had an edge to it now. I said Ashley told me she'd been sleeping with Bruno since her second night there. That she'd been texting him for over a month before the break. That the whole thing was planned. She didn't deny it. Instead, her expression hardened. And she said Ashley had no right to tell me that. That it was none of Ashley's business. That I was being dramatic about what was basically just a rough patch. Yeah, like cheating was just a minor bump. I told her we were done. Completely finished. No discussion. She switched tactics fast. Started saying Bruno meant nothing. That it was just physical stress relief. That she'd made a mistake but marriages were built on forgiveness. That I was throwing away 5 years over nothing, I corrected her. She threw away 5 years. I was just accepting reality. That's when the mask slipped again. You know what? Fine. You are boring anyway. Our relationship had been stale for over a year. Bruno made me feel alive. Pause. I stood up. Right. Now enjoy feeling alive forever. Then I started walking away. She froze. Started taking her words back. Wait. Kai, I didn't mean that. I'm just upset and... Enough, Miley. Just shut up. I left her sitting there alone. Now here's where things got interesting. The next morning, Miley's mother, Eileen, called. Her voice was sharp. Said we needed to discuss the wedding deposits. That her family had invested nearly $8,000, and they expected reimbursement since I was ending things. I told her Miley was the one who cheated. She made this mess. Eileen said that was between Miley and me, but the deposits were a financial matter. Her husband, Steve, had consulted their lawyer, and they were prepared to pursue legal action. I told her to do what she had to do, and hung up. Over the next week, she left 3 increasingly hostile voicemails and sent 2 emails demanding itemized breakdowns of every vendor payment, threatened small claims court, called me selfish and vindictive. I forwarded everything to my lawyer buddy. He said they had no legal standing. Deposits were gifts toward a wedding that didn't happen. They couldn't compel repayment. He drafted a formal response and I sent it to Eileen. She called back screaming about how I'd manipulated her daughter and was keeping money that belonged to them. I hung up after about 30 seconds. Steve sent one calm email about being reasonable adults and working out a payment plan. I replied once. Your daughter cheated and lied. She created this situation. I wasn't paying back gifts because Miley couldn't keep her commitments. Eileen tried one last move. Left a 1-star review on my work's Facebook page saying I was a scam artist. My boss called asking what was going on. I explained everything. He removed the review and told me to let him know if she escalated further. She didn't. Meanwhile, the vendors were brutal. We'd put down deposits months ago, and most were non-refundable once you hit 90 days out. We were at 68 days when I canceled everything. The venue kept my $3,500 deposit and Eileen and Steve's $3,800 contribution. Gone completely. The photographer refunded half of the $1,800 I'd paid. The DJ kept the full $900. The caterer kept 70% of the $2,400 I'd paid, so $1,680. Her parents had contributed $1,200 toward the caterer too. All gone. The florist kept everything, about $1,600 from me and $800 from them. I spent an entire afternoon calling every single vendor. Had the same conversation over and over. Most of them were sympathetic, but business is business. The photographer actually offered to do a solo portrait session for free to help me move on. I declined, but appreciated the gesture. Total damage between all of us. Roughly $13,000 just evaporated. My portion was around $8,600. Money that bought absolutely nothing except a lesson in reading contracts. And a reminder that cheating costs everyone. Miley started spreading her version of events through our mutual friends. Told people I'd been emotionally distant for months. That I'd refused to work on our relationship. That she'd made one mistake, and I'd immediately abandoned her instead of trying to fix things. Some friends believed her. Those people got blocked immediately. Others reached out asking for my side. I kept it simple. She cheated. She lied. I left. Then one afternoon, Bruno called me out of nowhere and dropped this. Look, dude. I didn't even know you guys were actually engaged. Miley told me you're on a mutual break and that you guys had been having problems for months. She even told me she'd been planning to end things with you anyway. So, she lied to you too. Congrats. Yes, man. I figured things out when she tried to move in with me. I refused and she'd lost it. Started showing up at my place unannounced and calling me all the time. She showed up last night at 2 a.m. demanding to talk. I blocked her. He also mentioned something that pissed me off. Said Miley told him I was controlling about money, that I held the finances over her head, that I'd manipulated her into putting down less on the house so I'd have leverage over her. Complete fiction. But it showed me exactly how she was spinning this, painting herself as the victim when really I just contributed more because I made more and saved more. I asked if he'd be willing to send me screenshots of their conversations, specifically the parts where she lied about our relationship status. He said sure, sent them within an hour. I saved everything. Didn't know if I'd need it, but I wanted documentation of her lies. Around this time, the house deposit refund hit my account, all $52,000 back. I stared at that balance and felt this weird mix of relief and anger. The best $52,000 I never spent. Started looking at condos, something smaller, something I could afford solo without stretching, something completely mine. Miley's friends kept reaching out. Same message every time. Everyone makes mistakes. She deserves a second chance. We were so good together. Don't throw it all away over one lapse in judgment. I blocked most of them. The ones who knew what was happening and said nothing could disappear forever. Ashley kept texting, though. Updated me on Miley's spiral. Apparently, she'd been calling Ashley sobbing every night, begging Ashley to convince me to take her back. Ashley kept telling her it was over, that she needed to accept what she'd done. Ashley mentioned their parents were pressuring Miley hard, told her she'd ruined her life, that she'd embarrassed the family. Miley wasn't handling it well. Her mother, Eileen, blamed me, though. Of course. Told Miley I'd never really loved her, that I was vindictive and cruel, that she was better off without me. The irony was almost funny. Then exactly 4 weeks after our park meeting, my phone buzzed with a text from Miley. Okay, I've given you enough time to cool off. I'm ready to work on us now. When can I come get my key? I read that text 5 times trying to process the sheer audacity. Given me enough time to cool off? Like she was doing me a favor by letting me have space from her cheating. Like she'd just given me a timeout and now recess was over and we could get back to normal. I typed out my response. I wanted it to hurt. You don't have a key anymore? Already seeing someone else. Good luck with everything. That last part wasn't true. I hadn't even thought about dating yet. But I wanted her to feel what I felt when I saw that brewery photo. Wanted her to know what it's like when someone you thought you knew becomes a stranger overnight. My phone rang within 10 seconds. I declined. She called again immediately. Declined. Then again. And again. 23 calls over the next 2 hours. Each one coming faster. I blocked her number. Within minutes, texts started coming from unknown numbers. Long paragraphs about how I was being cruel. How she'd made a mistake, but I was deliberately hurting her now. How dare I move on so fast? How I owed her a conversation. I blocked each number as they came. Then her work phone. She was spiraling hard. Then she started calling from Ashley's phone. Then numbers I didn't even recognize. She was calling from every phone she could grab. I blocked them all. Around 9 p.m., someone started pounding on my apartment door. Aggressive, angry knocking. I checked the peephole. Miley looking like a raccoon having a meltdown. Mascara running, hair a mess, looking unhinged. She started yelling through the door. K.A.I., I know you're in there. Open the freaking door. She kept screaming, You think you can replace me? I didn't respond. Just stood drinking Coke and listening. After maybe 8 minutes, she left, but not before kicking my door hard enough to leave a scuff mark. That's when I decided to end things here before it gets worse. The next morning, I filed for a restraining order. Documented the calls, the texts, the showing up at my door. The judge granted a temporary order. She'd be served within a few days. I also changed my phone number. Texted it only to people who mattered. Then, I sold the engagement ring. Took it to 4 different jewelers before finding one who'd give me a fair price. Got about $5,100 for a ring I'd paid $8,500 for. Not great, but better than keeping it. The first jeweler offered me $3,200. Said the diamond market was soft, and I'd lose money on any ring resold. The second offered $4,100, but wanted me to take store credit instead of cash. The third jeweler looked at the ring, looked at me, and asked what happened. I gave him the short version. He nodded and said he'd give me a fair price because he'd been through the same thing in his 20s. Wrote me a check for $5,100 on the spot and told me to invest it in myself instead of another relationship for a while. I appreciated the old man. Miley found out somehow and sent a message through Ashley. Yes, I gave her my new number. She demanded the ring back, said it was a family heirloom, that her grandmother would be devastated. Except I'd bought it new from a jeweler downtown with my own money. Her grandmother had never even seen it because Miley wanted to wait until after the wedding to show her family. I told Ashley to tell her absolutely not. The ring was mine. I paid for it. She didn't get to cheat and then demand gifts back. Ashley said Miley was losing it. Had been terminated from her job for too many absences and attitude problems. Was living with Eileen and Steve in her childhood bedroom at 29 years old. Had burned through her savings trying to rent her own place, but couldn't afford anything decent in our area. Eileen, her own mother, was charging her $600 a month rent now. That's how bad things had gotten. And Bruno? He'd ghosted her on everything after she kept showing up at his place. Miley had tried making fake social media accounts to contact him, but he ignored all of them. Most of her friend group had cut her off after the truth came out. Turns out lying to everyone has consequences. Rachel and 2 other friends still talked to her, but even they were getting tired of Miley playing victim. Eileen kept calling me, though. Left a voicemail saying I'd ruined her daughter's life. That karma would catch up to me. I saved the voicemail just in case I needed it for the restraining order. 3 months after everything imploded, I closed on my condo. 2-bedroom, 1-bath, quiet complex near work. Small but clean, and completely mine. That $52,000 became my down payment. My monthly mortgage ended up being $280 less than what I'd been paying in rent. It felt like a genuine win. Started filling the place with new stuff. New furniture, new TV, new everything. Made it feel like my space instead of our space. Got a small gym membership. Started hitting it 5 days a week. Dropped 22 pounds over 3 months from actually eating right and working out consistently. Ashley still checked in every few weeks. We'd grab coffee and she'd update me on the Miley disaster. Apparently, Miley had burned through the last of her money, got fired from her job, and couldn't find a new one until now, and was stuck living at home with Eileen driving her insane. Her remaining friends had finally cut her off too. Miley had been borrowing money from them constantly, never paying it back, always having some crisis that required financial help. They got tired of being her ATM. Her life had become this slow-motion car crash, and I had front-row seats to watch it happen. Part of me felt bad. Small part. Most of me felt satisfied seeing natural consequences play out. The restraining order became permanent. The judge looked at the evidence, listened to my testimony about the harassment, and granted it for 2 years. She wasn't allowed within 500 feet of my home or workplace. Eileen tried to file a counter-complaint saying I was harassing them. The judge dismissed it immediately when my lawyer showed the evidence of her unhinged calls, hostile voicemails, and fake online reviews. I started dating again after about 4 months, just getting back out there, talking to people, remembering what it felt like to have conversations that didn't involve manipulation or lies. I met a woman named Heather at the gym. She was straightforward, funny, had her life together. We went out a few times, kept it casual. It felt good not overthinking everything. Life got into a rhythm. Work, gym, home, repeat. Some weekends I'd grab food with Matt. Some weekends I'd see Heather. Most weekends I just enjoyed being alone in my own place with zero drama. Then this happened. Laughing at it until now probably makes me look like a bad person. Whatever. Lol. So, one morning in late August, someone knocked on my condo door. I wasn't expecting anyone. I looked through the peephole and my stomach dropped. Miley standing there looking absolutely wrecked. Hair dull and limp, face puffy, wearing sweatpants and an oversized t-shirt. She'd lost weight but in an unhealthy way. Dark circles under her eyes. I was eating cereal, just standing there in shorts and a t-shirt with a bowl of Frosted Flakes. Opened the door mid-chew. She immediately started crying. I need to talk to you, please. Hold on. I held up one finger, finished chewing and swallowed. Okay, what's up? Her face went from sad to confused. What's up? Seriously? I've been trying to reach you for months. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I lost everything. My job, my friends. Bruno won't even look at me. I'm living with my parents. My mom charges me rent. I think about you every single day and... Damn, that's rough. I took another bite of cereal. She stared at me like I'd grown a second head. That's all you have to say? I mean, yeah. Sounds like things didn't work out the way you planned. That happens. I came here to apologize. To tell you I was wrong. To see if we could maybe, I don't know, try again? I shook my head slowly. Nah, I'm good. You're good? Her voice started getting louder. I'm pouring my heart out to you, and you're standing there eating cereal like I'm the cable guy? To be fair, the cable guy usually calls first. Her face went red. This is unbelievable. After everything we had, you're just completely over it? You moved on that fast? Pretty much, yeah. Who is she? Her eyes got wild. Is she here? Is she in there right now? Doesn't really matter. The point is, you came here looking for something I don't have anymore. So maybe head out before this gets weird. Seriously? She was fully yelling now. I destroyed my entire life for you, and you're acting like I'm some random person asking for directions. You destroyed your life by cheating. I was just collateral damage. Big difference. She lost it. Started screaming about how I was heartless, how I never really loved her, how I was punishing her for one mistake, how she deserved better than this. The whole 9 yards. I just stood there eating my cereal, waiting for her to run out of steam. Then she snapped. Completely. And things got ugly real fast. She lunged forward, trying to shove past me into the condo. I stepped back and she stumbled through the doorway. She spun around, face twisted with rage, and took a wild swing at my chest. I sidestepped. She missed completely, momentum carrying her forward. Her foot caught the raised threshold of my entryway. The fall happened in slow motion, arms windmilling, face going from angry to shocked. Then she went down hard. Knee hit first with an audible crack on the tile floor. Then her hands, then her face. She screamed, rolled onto her side, clutching her knee. Blood running from her nose where she'd smashed it. Cereal milk splattered across her sweatpants from my bowl that I'd barely managed to save. Oh, man. I set my bowl on the counter. You all right? My knee. Oh my God, my knee. Yeah, that looked pretty bad. You want me to call an ambulance or... You did this. Still screaming. You made me trip. I mean, technically, you tripped on your own. I was just standing here. My neighbor from across the hall opened his door, took one look at Miley on my floor and asked, "Good grief? Is everything all right?" Yeah, she fell. I think she might need an ambulance, though. She was crying now. Knee swelling up fast. I hate you. I hate you so much. Look what you did to me. So ambulance or Uber? Because you can't really stay here. Restraining order and all. She tried standing. Couldn't put weight on her knee. Screamed again. Fell back down. My neighbor called out, "Yo, I'd called 911," and went back inside. I grabbed some paper towels and tossed them near her. "For your nose." She just glared at me from the floor. The paramedics showed up 12 minutes later. I had to help her onto a stretcher. She kept screaming about how I'd pushed her. The paramedics asked if that was true. I showed them my doorbell camera footage on my phone. Clear as day. Her lunging, her swinging, her tripping over nothing. They nodded. One of them almost laughed, but the other punched him on the arm. Then they took her away. After they left, I cleaned up the blood spots with bleach and finished my cereal. Called the non-emergency line to report the restraining order violation and the attempted assault. The footage made it pretty straightforward. I sat down on my couch and just breathed. Felt peaceful. My phone buzzed. Text from Heather asking if I wanted to grab dinner that night. I smiled and said yes. 3 days later, Ashley texted saying Miley had a court date for violating the restraining order. Judge slapped her with a fine and extended the order for another year. Apparently, Miley tried claiming I'd pushed her, but the doorbell footage killed that story instantly. Her knee required surgery. Torn meniscus. She'd be on crutches for months. Eileen lost it in the courtroom. Started yelling how her daughter was the real victim. The judge threatened her with contempt, and she finally shut up. That was the last I heard from any of them. Now I just sit and think to myself, damn, I dodged a nuclear bomb. Saved myself from a lifetime disaster. Now she can keep her childhood bedroom. I'll keep my condo and my peace of mind. Fair trade if you ask me. Guys, we are so close to hit 100,000 subscribers on this channel. If you are not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. It really helps hit that 100,000 mark. Thanks for making this dream come true.